For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss violence must be eradicated, non-violence respected. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
When everyone is focusing on the matters like campaigns and corruption, why are you raising the question of non-violence?
You see, I raise this continually because people are talking about getting rid of Jacob Zuma to remedy the problems of Jacob Zuma's era. And when they focus on the problems, what they tend to do is see it as corruption, looting, state capture. But those are not the only things. And I think a long-standing feature of South African society is the question of violence. It was there, it's been there before Zuma. I think it's more pronounced under the Zuma era because you've had a lot of these things. Well, shoot to kill was also there before him, but you've had a lot more of this rough, tough policing. You've had Mshini Wam, you've had a higher tolerance, it seems, to me, of violence against women and LGBTIQA people, a lot of murders that are not solved, unfriendly policing of these matters, very low conviction rates. But it's part of something wider in South African society where in the whole of South African history, the way in which the differences between people are resolved has been not through discussion, negotiation, compromise, but giving someone a club or something like that. What a relative of mine once said, I gave him the 1-2. Now the 1-2 means the club. And when I was a youngster, I used to grow up, and if you were just daydreaming and you happened to stare at someone, chap might come over to you and say, what are you staring at, and give you a club. And this is the culture of South Africa. It's a very, very violent society. Someone moves into your lane or something, you wait till you can cut them off and then you give them a smack, or worse, so-called road rage. And I think we've got to instill in South Africans in generally, but the public service particularly, but we've got to instill in South African people a sense that non-violence is a good thing. Peace is a good thing. And we must have role models that are of people who are not just tough people using macho language. Now, I always like to refer to Chief Luthuli, and it's a bit unfortunate that this is the 50th anniversary of his death, the same as the anniversary of Tambo's birth, and there's no attention being paid to Luthuli. Now, Luthuli won the Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm not focusing so much on the non-violence of Luthuli when I advocate that Luthuli, but Tambo as well. Luthuli, I'm talking about now, I'm not advocating that he should be a role model because he was an absolute pacifist. He wasn't that. But because Luthuli was strong, he was brave, but he was also gentle. And we've got to create a situation where being a man can also mean being gentle. Luthuli believed that non-violence was the best way of pursuing the struggle to free South Africa. But he recognized under certain circumstances that the armed struggle was justified. But you can also see in the imagery around Luthuli this sort of gentleness. There's a picture of him with a little puppy under his chin. Now, dogs and men have the imagery usually of toughness, and the man's best friend is this dog who's prepared to bite your head off. And there are other pictures, like there's one of him saying goodbye and his wife is touching his hat, just making it neat. And you see the daughter looking at him. There's just this atmosphere of love. And when I did interviews with the Luthuli family, the daughters used to talk about how he was never an absent parent, how the mother and the father shared the duties of parenting. And they used to tell him or talk about their boyfriends with him, things like this. And they go to sleep, and if anyone's blanket fell off, he would gently go and cover them in the middle of the night. Or if they had to go to the toilet outside or sleepwalk, he would take them, carefully put them back in their bed. Now, this is the imagery of manhood that we need to promote. Madiba was also very gentle. Madiba was a soldier, but you also have these pictures of Madiba with babies. And it was not something that he put on just for the cameras. He loved children. Yeah.
So is it not an overstatement to speak of the principle of non-violence as universal in application?
You see, I speak of universal, absolute, a principle that's absolutely valid, because it is a principle. That doesn't mean that there are not situations when you can depart from the principle. Now, when we say that self-defense is a justified situation when you may use force, we are not saying that self-defense, that act of violence that you use becomes a new principle, a new norm. The universal norm is non-violence. The departures are exceptions. Exceptions don't become principles. Exceptions are exceptions from a principle. And the norm, we must ensure that people understand that peace is an absolutely desirable quality. Self-defense is not absolutely desirable. It's unfortunate that you have to use self-defense. That's what I mean. And that's why I believe we need to have much more debate about non-violence, so that people don't feel that to be a man, I have to be ready to club someone.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about violence must be eradicated, non-violence respected.